Hi YouTubers, it's me, Zipster. Wow, this new webcam's kind of freaking me out because it's like in Panavision now or whatever. I have to like straighten up an extra foot on either side of the room because it picks up so much more. And look, there you can see. Look, there's William. Hey, Billy. That's my cat. Okay. Now, for those of you who've been around for a while, you know pretty much the chronology of what went on when and where I was, during this and that and this and that. So, but for the new people, let me just put this in a big nutshell, and then I can move on with my story. In approximately, I think it's like 1985, through my friend Keith, he introduced me to this woman named Barbara Milstein, who, along with her boyfriend, who no longer was a boyfriend, but whatever, she owned a vintage clothing store down in the village called Chameleon. So I met her, and then she was looking for help. And I was like, yeah, I could do that, because I'd been at Unique Clothing over on Broadway for a while, and that was just too much to handle. But this was like a nice little, easy little, teeny little place, and I didn't have to like be the manager or anything. I just had to, sit at the cash register and take money. I could do that. So, so I started working for Barbara Milstein. Okay, and I even, I don't know what's wrong with me. Let me just have a little sippy here. It seems like the longer you quit smoking, the more stuff is still coming out. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I made a little map. Okay, let's take a look at the map. This is Chameleon. This is the store. This is Bleecker Street. This is Leroy Street. Right here's the front door to the place. Here there was a big jewelry case that ran along. These are all windows, and here's a whole big jewelry case, and there's a cash register. This is clothing. There's a little rack of clothing that my friend, actually Joellen, well, it wasn't all vintage clothing because my friend Joellen made her own line of clothing, and we used to sell it right there on that rack. But remember that, because that's going to be a part of the story later, this particular rack. There's more clothing and dressing rooms. Okay, fine. So, one day, this is where I sat in the window at the cash register. That was my spot. So, okay, fine. Let me put the map back for a second. So one day I'm sitting in there, and this woman, she's kind of a short woman, wearing she was wearing like a motorcycle jacket and real tight jeans and boots, and, just a little kind of thing. And she was kind of ratty looking. Comes walking in with this like really hot dude. I mean, like really hot dude. Young, hot. And she looked, to be like, I don't know, 45, 50 or something. I go, good for you, old lady, whatever. So they're walking around the store, and all of a sudden she starts talking. And my God, that voice sounds so familiar. But I'm looking at her, and I can't figure it out. I cannot place her, not at all. So, get this thing out of here, it's bugging me. So anyway, all of a sudden she comes over to the jewelry counter, which you will know was right where the cash register was, where I was sitting there. She's like looking through the jewelry, and now the voice is starting to, it's like, I definitely know this person from somewhere. And all of a sudden she's looking at one of these pieces of jewelry, and she says, oh my God, my sister Georgianne would really love this. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, it's Cher. It totally was. Because I knew that she had a sister named Georgianne. So, anyway, so she goes to buys a whole big bunch of stuff, and she hands me a credit card, and it says on it, just Cher. I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So I said to her, we actually have someone that we know in common. And she's like, who? And I said, well, Tico Torres. Because Tico, who was my drummer in Another Pretty Face, and then before he joined Bon Jovi, he did the drums on at least one of Cher's albums. So she was all like, oh my God, how do you know Tico? And I told her, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so she was really cool and everything. But man, did she look different in person. Because, she didn't have any makeup on, and I thought she was like tall, but she's like not at all. So it was very confusing. But meanwhile, the dude she was with was that bagel boy that she was with for a while, Rod Calamari or Calamari or whatever the hell his name was, who I later ran into at the China Club in L.A. Zenford Primates was playing out there, and guess who was a bartender? Rob Calamari, that bagel guy. Okay, anyway, so another day I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden this guy and this woman and this little baby come in, and I look, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Bette Midler.
alive.
And it totally was. And she was with that ugly Russian dude that she married. He was like a performance artist or whatever. And I'm so excited because you know what? I always thought the Divine Miss M was like one of those people that's like that one of the stars that I would like to like go to a party with her because she would be really funny. And so I always thought the same thing about Cher because Cher just Cher don't give a shit. And I thought she'd be fun to hang around with. But man, I was so surprised at the Divine Miss M because like. She comes into the store and she is bitching about the prices of like everything. And she comes up right here where I told you where my friend Joellen had her line of clothing there. So Joellen made these really cute, cool blouses made out of like this really big houndstooth. Yeah, that's what it's called. But they were really neat blouses. But they were $90. And Bette Midler is going freaking cuckoo bonkers about, I can't believe they want $90 for this blouse. And I'm thinking to myself, listen, honey, Miss Beaches, Miss Divine, Miss M, you're telling me you can't afford $90 for a blouse. Anyway, so she was a real cheapie, and I was kind of disappointed in that, and it changed my opinion of her big time. So another day, it was like first thing in the morning, I just opened up the store, and turned the lights on, got everything gathered up. I go up to sit at my little cash register, and who's the first person who walks in the door first thing in the morning? Oh my God.
Oh my God, it's Matthew Broderick.
And it was. And let me tell you something. He had skin like porcelain. It was like phosphorescent. No, that's not the word. Like luminescent. It was like you could see through it. It was. Oh my God. His skin was flawless. And he was looking at this, and we had this one rack that was all vintage French nightshirts, like to the knee nightshirt kind of thing. But they were kind of tight, and they were kind of difficult to get on and off and stuff. And so I'm sitting up at the cash register, and he picked a couple of them out, and he went back to the dressing room, and the next thing you hear, he's like, excuse me, sir, could you help me put this on? I'm like, oh my God, Matthew Broderick wants me to go back in the dressing room and help him get dressed. And I did, but I behaved really good. So, ooh, I'm sorry. So everything was cool. Excuse me, please. I don't know where I think I am. It's from hanging out with that nut cheese in Stickum, because everybody burps and farts in there and nobody even cares. But I don't want to get into the habit of doing that. So, okay, another day, I'm sitting in there, and all of a sudden, this dude comes walking in, and I'm like,
oh my God, it's the little dark one from that Hall & Oates group.
And it totally was. So he goes over and he's looking at, we had these vintage motorcycle jackets. And they were really expensive. They were like $800 to $1,200. I don't know why they were so expensive, but they were. So anyway, he's trying all this stuff on, and I'm thinking to myself, man, he hasn't been with Hall & Oates. Like, they haven't done anything in a really long time. They're not even together anymore. How can this guy afford a $1,000 motorcycle jacket? So he like comes over to the cash register, and before I could even catch myself, the words come flying right out of my mouth. Are you sure you can afford this? I'm like, I can't believe I said that. He said, I assure you, sir, I can afford this. But I was like so embarrassed, I couldn't even stand it. And then another day, this is a really quick story, and then it's over, I promise. Another day I'm sitting there, and who comes walking in the door?
Oh my God, it's that skinny, goony one from the Cars, Wicker Kasich.
I'm like, wow. But so if you guys can picture in your head what he looked like, or look him up on Google or something, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. So he's like bending down right in front of me to look in the jewelry counter. I'm looking at his head. I'm like, oh my God. I could tell, you could see like between the hair, that he was completely wearing a wig. It wasn't even his hair. How the mighty have fallen. Anyway, those are just some of my remembrances of my days at Chameleon on Bleecker Street. It was a lot of fun. There were a lot of other stars, too. Maybe I'll do a part 2 at some point, okay? But thanks for listening to my stories, okay? I'll talk to you later. Thank you!